Welcome to Comic Chop News. I'm Dan, and today we're going to be speaking about the new movie from DC, and that would be Shazam. I had been kind of a little bit weary about this movie because wasn't sure exactly how it was going to be, and the trailers were a little didn't really show really what it was about. It was mostly those videos of him checking his powers. I'm not the hugest Zachary Levi fan either, so I really wasn't sure what I was going to be getting into with this movie, and I came away actually pleasantly surprised. So, start out, we kind of learn about Billy. He kind of pulls a prank on the cops and breaks into their, well, not breaks, it locks them into a pawn shop, and he uses the computer in the cop's car to look up a name of a Batson. He's searching for his mother. We see earlier that he was separated from his mother while at a carnival, and he's been looking for her ever since. She didn't really put up much of a fight looking for him. It was interesting to see the look back. The directing was very well done. Another horror director doing a superhero movie. And Billy has run away from many foster homes, and he's basically getting one last shot before that he, in his, I guess it was a counselor, they're talking to him saying until he's 18 he has to live at these homes. So this couple takes him in that used to be foster children themselves, and they take him to a house with a very large family of kids they've brought in. I'll warn you now, this movie uses family more than a Fast and the Furious movie. The family is brought up a lot. And also, I forgot at the beginning, this will have some light spoilers near the end, so I just want to warn you before we go any further. Anyway, we move from there. We meet the different cast of characters. There is Eugene, who is a gamer. He very much is just engrossed in his computer games. There's Darla, who just is very chatty, loves to talk, just this ball of energy. Mary, which I am a fan of Mary Marvel, and she's in the comics, Mary Batson. I forget what she's Mary last name is in this, but the actress Grace Fulton, who was cast to play her, was so spot on, and it was like ripped out of the comic. She portrayed her fantastically, and it was just some of the best casting I've seen in this movie. We also meet Freddie Freeman, who he has a disability. He also kind of is always seems to be up to something, which they go into in this. He's also a superhero fanatic. Billy and him kind of hit it off, sort of. He's screwing with Billy. Billy isn't the greatest kid either. There's also another kid there, Hugo, I believe was his name. Boy, I should have read a little bit more on that. To be honest, his character really didn't shine through very much compared to some of the others. He had a couple of moments, but really not till near the end does he really start to stand out from the crowd. Freddie Freeman is played by Grazer, who you might remember was Eddie from It. He has more to do in this. I think he's got more standout moments than he had in It. It's almost to Finn Wolfhard's level from It. Jack Dylan Grazer is a standout from this. Actually, most of the kids in this and the supporting cast, I feel actually outshined Zachary Levi and Mark Strong in their performance. Nothing wrong with what Zachary Levi did, but it just, for me, there was nothing that really stood out and made me take notice, while these kids and some of the other supporting characters just had their moments. Jack Dylan Grazer phenomenally performed in this. Also, the little girl who plays Darla is just charming as all hell. She's just adorable. I really thought she put on a great performance. So the movie goes on. We learn also how Dr. Savannah, played by Mark Strong, gets involved in this hunt for power wizards. We meet him early in the movie as a kid, and he is brought to in front of Shazam, and he was trying to determine if Savannah was pure of heart, and he heard the whispers of the 7 deadly sins and almost freed them. And from then on, he comes back and he's obsessed. And for Smallville fans, it was fantastic to see John Glover, Lionel Luthor himself, come back and be in the DC universe. It's always kind of pleasant to see him. I enjoyed his kind of over-the-top performance in the car ride. Again, it's a lot of family talk and the different levels of being abandoned and then having a family you hate. They go through different levels of this in it. The movie, weirdly at times, it has a little bit of stuff for everyone. The beginning is kind of slow until it starts to get going, and we end up finally having Billy meet the wizard Shazam. There's some cool back and forth till he gets the powers. For those of you who read the comics, especially the Justice League backstories that were going on for New 52, I believe it was, this is heavily influenced by Jeff Johns and his revival, revamping of Shazam. It's really good. I like that Billy isn't this milquetoast kid. He's complicated. He has issues. He kind of, to a point, doesn't believe anyone's good. They really go into it more in the comic. But the family he's staying with keep trying to bring him in closer, and after he gets the powers, they think he's run away again, and he ends up going and finding Freddy, trying to understand his powers. And as we see in the trailers after that, Freddy's taking him around trying to learn what his powers are. There's some cute moments here and there. We also find Dr. Savannah finding his way to the Rock of Eternity and getting the power of the 7 deadly sins, which, as Shazam, Billy Shazam, is getting acquainted with his powers, he's using them for not really the purest of intentions. It's earning money on the street. He kind of is hard to root for because he becomes sort of a jerk. And Freddy has this moment where he talks about his disability making people just view him as invisible. And it's one of those moments where, like, the Freddie Freeman character kind of breaks the trying to make offhand comments, and he has this moment of just brutal honesty. And Shazam keeps, running until he'll run into Mary and some of the other characters, and he kind of lets on that he knows who they are, especially Mary. And there are some good moments, but the pacing's not terrible, but once Dr. Savannah gets the power and starts actively searching for Shazam to fight him, that to me is where it really starts get going. There is a fight in a mall during Christmas where the Santa Claus character, Mall Santa, will keep coming back in the movie and has a hysterical ending right before it goes to the credits. Also, speaking of the credits, there are 2 end credit scenes, 1 mid credit, 1 after credit, 1 good, 1 adequate. So during the fight with Dr. Savannah, we have our homage to the movie Big, which you can draw a really easy comparison between these movies with some of the themes. But as they're fighting, they start doing the little bit of the floor piano. I really dug that. And we see some horror elements with what Dr. Savannah has with the 7 deadly sins and how he can release them, and they're these monstrous creatures. Of course, he starts learning how to get to Billy and learns Billy's name because Freddy and him had a fight, a verbal falling out on TV while they were interviewing Shazam or Captain Sparkle Fingers or the Red Dynamo. There's all kinds of different little names they keep making up for him. And the family starts getting involved. Again, like there's stuff in here that is really well shot. There's a lot of fun to be had. It does get a little cheesy at times. Some of the stuff in the Rock of Eternity, they end up going back to the Rock of Eternity, the whole Marvel, not Marvel family, but Billy and the family. This also is after Billy finds his real mother, thanks to Eugene and the others putting their resources together to find them. Apparently Eugene is a hacker. That was a little odd. But anyway, Billy gets to meet his mother and is disappointed by what he finds and how she let him go. She thought he'd be better off, and the actor playing him, there is this visual showing of heartbreak on his face that's conveyed so well. Again, these kid actors, they did a phenomenal job. I was really impressed with them. So as going back to, I'm jumping around too much because it's 3 a.m. and I'm trying to focus my thoughts and I haven't scripted anything. Anyway, from there, in the Rock of Eternity, we see that there's all these doors there. Dr. Savannah is chasing them down, and as they're opening doors, each door leads to these weird worlds. Like one of them, there were crocodile people. They learn how to get back out of the Rock of Eternity. They end up in a strip club that's kind of humorous, and Mary's covering Darla's eyes, and Darla's wondering why she's getting her eyes covered. Again, real funny stuff. Dr. Savannah is still chasing them, and they end up, the final showdown happens in this, I guess it's a Christmas pageant park thing going on. And it sets a nice background and things in it. The 7 deadly sins get released and are chasing down the other members of the family. Savannah and Captain Marvel are fighting, or Shazam. I don't even know what we're calling him now. So the battle's going on, and Dr. Savannah puts him in checkmate, saying that he needs to give him the power, and for some reason in Billy's head it finally hits him something the wizard said, and he figures out how to give the power to his new family, brother and sisters. And I got a little stoked at this part. One, the older version of the superpowered Mary Marvel was just spot on, great. The actress who was playing the powered older version of Darla managed to capture the enthusiasm and the mannerisms and the way of talking that completely was impressive that she was able to pull it off. I wish I had written down the actress's name if you look on IMDb, but I was super impressed the way that she was able to carry that out. And I was also super jazzed by the fact that two members that were supposed to be, two actors, I should say, that were supposed to be in the ill-fated Justice League Mortal movie by George Miller, finally got their time to be heroes. DJ Cotrona, who was supposed to be Superman in that movie, got to be the powered version of Hugo. And then also Adam Brody, who was supposed to play the Flash, was the powered version of Freddie Freeman. And his mannerisms and the way he spoke, it fit perfectly. And I was super impressed. Once the Marvel family all get their powers, each one's kind of fighting a sin. Freddie, who has also been bullied, gets to, in his powered version, save two of the bullies, and he gives them suitcase wedgies, which they talk about earlier in it. So there's like callbacks like that. The fight goes on. Billy finally figures out how to trick Savannah into letting loose the last seventh sin, which was envy that was in him. And it keeps going. He finally traps them, and from there we move on to, now they're at dinner and they're having a family dinner, and finally Billy's buying in, and it's a sweet moment. And on TV, that Santa Claus, the mall Santa Claus, comes back and just goes on an F-bomb tirade. Two after credit scenes. One of them is, there is one last moment before it goes to credits, and that is Freddie is a huge fan of Superman, and earlier in the movie he wanted to get the bullies and other people to appreciate him. He wanted Billy to show up as Captain Marvel and have lunch with him. Earlier, Billy doesn't do it, but now he does show up, and he brings Superman with him, or someone dressed as Superman, and then it goes to the credits. One of the after-credit scenes, if you are a comic book fan, you will completely understand it. Savannah is in jail or a mental institute, trying to find his way there again. And all of a sudden, he hears this voice talking to him, almost like it's through a speaker. And he gets up and starts looking, and it's this worm that we see in a cameo earlier. It is Mr. Mind. Mr. Mind is in a movie, and it's so hard to comprehend that's where we are in the world right now, that Mr. Mind is in a movie that's going to make a lot of money. Mr. Mind is in it. And he tells Savannah that he's going to help him get power. And from there, it moves on to another after credit when it's a callback to when they were looking for powers, and they're kind of making fun of Aquaman. So the movie, it was fun. There is a childlike innocence, but also there is heart to it. Sometimes there's a supernatural horror element to it. Then there's just these cheesy elements that I kind of groaned at. There is humor. I enjoyed the movie. I was a little disappointed with Mark Strong's character of Dr. Savannah. He just seemed a little one note, and I was more interested in the earlier version when we first meet Dr. Savannah than what I was with the Mark Strong version that kind of dressed like Grant Morrison. It was kind of a little odd, but it fit the Dr. Savannah look. And Zachary Levi, he was good, but I felt like he was outshone by these younger castmates, the supporting cast. There was just something to them that really it's hard to even put into words, but it's just, even you just watch it and you just feel like, wow, these kids are just blowing him out of the water. And it's impressive. It really is. I'm not the hugest fan of the Captain Marvel Shazam character, but I felt this was a good interpretation, especially using what Jeff Johns had. As far as if this movie will get sequels, I don't know. I don't even know what DC Warner's plans are at this point, because it seems like it's going to be a lot of one-offs, one-and-dones. These rumors of Ezra Miller might be done as the Flash. I don't know how Wonder Woman 84, how this is going to integrate with what is in the DC universe, or are we just, whatever the DCEU was is dead and we're just doing one-offs and or standalone movie sagas and we're just done putting everyone together. It's hard to say. I'm interested in seeing where it's going, but I'd say post Justice League, they're 2 for 2 right now. The movie's gonna do well. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel as much like a Marvel movie as Aquaman did, which I'm not trying to denigrate, because I know DC fans get a little upset every now and again when you compare to Marvel movies. But this had something to it that it made it its own, and I dig that. And good God, that Joker trailer with Joaquin Phoenix was fantastic, and it can't get here fast enough. I give this a solid, I'm going to give it a 3.5. Again, I have some issues with it, but it was a fun ride. By far, it is not a masterpiece. You're not coming here for that. You're coming to be entertained. And I was entertained. I didn't look at my watch. I wasn't like waiting to see how long the movie had left. It was decent. It was not great, but it was decent. I had my fun. There were moments in it that were standouts. And again, the child actors were fantastic. Jack Dylan Grazer was amazing. And Grace Fulton embodied the Mary that I've read in the comics over all these years. So with that being said, I would like to thank you for joining me. Comment, share, subscribe. And coming up, I will be reviewing Pet Sematary. I'm going tomorrow and seeing that, so there'll be a review coming up for that. My guest from Aquaman and Captain Marvel reviews, Gambit, will be joining me to do a run-through of the entire slate of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and discussing each movie in order of release. So that should be a fun time. I always like getting together and talking movies with him, since he's a movie fan, but he's a comic fan first. So look forward to that, and I believe I'll have Hellboy next week. So enjoy the movie, go watch it, and let me know what you think. Ta-ta.